We're
Welcome
back.
back. Yes, summer break is over on to season number 2 of the
No, season
Inflection
number
Moment.
3.
Yeah, 3. Time
Come
flies when you're having.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
time flies.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, it's been a while. We're kind of out of practice, and so's the computer.
Yeah, your
So,
it was your computer this time. I am joining remotely from a vehicle that is not in motion. Just to be very clear, yeah, you can clearly see
thank
I'm
you for
in a car,
clarifying. Yeah.
but I am not driving. I am sitting stationary, parked right now. So, yeah, I was surprised that it was your tech and not my tech today, given that I'm kind of on the road.
Exactly. Well, I'm just grateful that we're together, and I would like to invite anybody that's here with us to pop into the chat and type a message into either YouTube or LinkedIn. I think most of our people are on LinkedIn, but if you type in the chat, then we know you're here, and we will certainly interact with any comments you make as we're talking today. So, today we are talking about relationship management because it makes all the difference. And the first thing I have to say about this is I hate the title. I don't hate the title
Tell us why
relationship
you don't.
management makes all the difference, but I hate the title of this component of um, emotional intelligence. This is the last of the 4 components, and it's talking about your inner relationships with other people. But the reason why I hate the title, just for the record, is because I run on the theory of we lead people and we manage projects. So when we say relationship management, that makes people like something that we can tweak and put into a process. And that is not reality as I have experienced it. Nor do I think it's appropriate to think about other people in that perspective. But that's just me.
I was like, and thank you for coming to Rhonda's TED Talk today.
What's your point?
Yeah, yeah. I'd have to say that I agree. I never thought about that before, but now that you say that, like, it totally makes sense on why you wouldn't like this particular title. One thing I was thinking of too, since we've taken like 5 weeks off, not to put you on the spot or anything, but this is the last component of emotional intelligence.
You are
So
kidding.
for those that haven't maybe joined with us before we took our summer break, or maybe have joined us but forgot what those other components are. Do you want to run through them real
You
quick?
are putting me on the spot. Um,
I decided I'd do it to you first because I still got vacation brain, so I know if you did it to
oh
me,
gosh,
I
let's
completely
let's not
lost.
talk about vacation brain, okay? Because as I was telling you before we got on here, we had kind of our last hurrah of the vacation side of things um, last Thursday through Sunday. So I definitely have vacation brain on many different levels. So, excuse me. Um,
And did you come back with a cold too? Or
this
is that
this
allergies?
is just allergy crap.
Okay.
I came back exhausted, but that was because my sisters made me work really hard yesterday. But that's a whole nother story. Um, of course, I made them work hard too, so it's equal opportunity. Um, Jeff, there's 4 components: self awareness, self management. So the whole management thing seems to be a recurring theory.
Yeah.
Um, team awareness, and I may be kind of tweaking it on the words a little bit, but and then the final one is relationship management. So basically, it's knowing yourself, knowing how you need to take care of yourself and how you show up in connection to other people. So there's the first 2 are self-focused, and then the last 2 are other focused, where you um, are attuned to who the other people are that are around you, and what's going on in those interactions. So that was a really good idea to walk through it from that standpoint, because that helps us to think about the framework that this is within, and that relationship management is important because it's how you lead people. So the basis of relationship skills is self-awareness. You have to know who you are and how you are showing up before you can possibly lead your people. Because if you're showing up as a jerk, guess who's not going to want to follow you?
Your people.
Bonus.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. So 4 of the components for relationship management are influence, coaching and mentoring, conflict management, and teamwork. Excuse me. And in order to illustrate this, I'd love to kind of tell a story of an experience that I just had recently with someone who is so masterful at this. And I have watched her step into a role, and it's just absolutely fabulous. I was watching her before, because this is actually a role in a nonprofit that I am a leader of. And I was watching her as a second chair leader. So she was not the person who was running the team, but she had a critical role on the team, and her contribution was really important. Basically, she was scheduling meetings, she was drawing people out, because the person who was in the leader role was good at some of that stuff, but not as good as she was. So there was another team that we really needed somebody to take the bull by the horns and move this thing forward. And the person who had been leading the team came to the point where she said, okay, I can't lead this anymore. I've come to the end of my being able to lead, which, just for the record, is some pretty big self-awareness. That's pretty impressive. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Being open to know when it's time to step aside is huge.
Yes. I'm not saying it was an easy process to get there, but she did come to the place of, okay, I can't lead this I can't complete the task. Okay. So there are a couple of us that put our heads together and we're like, okay, now what? And I said, I have just the person. So I went to this person and
So you voluntold her?
No, I did not voluntold her. Well, I might have pressured her a lot, but I did not voluntold her. I went to this person and I told her what we needed, and I told her what I'd seen in her in this other group, and invited her into the role. And thank God she said yes. Is it raining like crazy there, Jeff?
It is. That's why I keep going on mute and kind of nodding.
Okay. Every time you go on mute,
you can probably tell as the host.
So that's okay. So anybody who's watching right now, Jeff is dealing with some really heavy rain while he's sitting in his car. So it's got to be really interesting. Geez, I sure hope it doesn't start thundering and lightning. I mean, literally, I really hope for you that it doesn't start thundering and lightning.
Yeah, it is slowing down a little bit.
Well,
right now.
Thank goodness. So now that we've got the weather report out of the way,
yes.
So it's really awesome to watch this woman's her relationship management skills in action, because we're seeing the immediate benefit of it on this team. It's fabulous. So the first competency is influence. And she came in with the attitude to get things done without being offensive. She's bringing people into the process. She's plugging them in and making sure they have what they need to work together to accomplish the goal. And that's something that we were desperately in need of on this team. The second competency is coaching and mentoring. She's always thinking about what her team members need and how she can empower them. She makes sure that we all see everybody's capabilities, and how important those are for accomplishing the goal. And then there's conflict management, which is competency number 3, which, I mean, especially on a team that has stalled, that can be a really big challenge. Okay, conflict management for most of us is a challenge, period. But in a situation with a team that's stalled and needs to get back on track, it's an even bigger thing. Here's what she does. She brings differences in how people perceive things and think the work should be done to the surface. That's critical to moving things forward.
Absolutely. To get things like that out in the open where the team is engaging in a meaningful way.
Yes.
To drive the thing, whatever the thing is, to drive it forward.
Exactly. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have trouble. But she recognizes the value of developing the best option out of everybody's experiences and thoughts. So it's not like we're trying to avoid conflict. And I'm not talking conflict like, knock down, drag out, fight. I'm talking about seeing things differently and being able to find the best solution out of everybody's perspectives. So, and then finally, the last competency is teamwork. She trusts her team and her team trusts her to take them where they need to go, even though there were previous struggles to gain traction under the other leadership. She has called them into the shared vision and she helps them accomplish it together. It is amazing to watch this woman work. And I luckily have a seat. Number one, I have a seat on the bus in this particular team. And number 2, I have a seat where I can watch her, and after she does something in a meeting, say to her afterwards, hey, you know what? That was awesome. This is what we got accomplished because you could lead this team.
That's huge, especially when people have the self-awareness, they know how to lead relationships and lean on people that might have different or opposing views to move forward. I mean, it can be it is a game changer in a group dynamic or leading in an organization if you have those skills. And I think that the important thing about those skills is I think they can always be developed.
I completely agree.
About your example and the people that this person is working with, being around someone who is very well at that, does very well at that, and seeing the interactions and how she brings out the best in people and how she empowers them, that stuff is, you can be like a sponge and learn that and pick that up from others around you that do that very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everybody who's on that team is seeing how that works. And so they can take what they learned on that team and use it, whether they're a leader or whether they're a member of a team on another team, to use those skills in new things that they do, whether it's in this organization or whether it's somewhere else. And that's one of the beautiful things about all the skills of emotional intelligence, all the competencies, as they call them, not skills, which is what they are, is that you can apply them everywhere in your world.
Yeah.
Whether it's working, as the leader, as the second chair leader, as the team member, whether it's in your family, a nonprofit you're working with, it doesn't matter where, those skills work everywhere. So I love this one, even though I don't like the title, because this is all where the rubber hits the road. It's where all the different competencies that we've talked about before are going to come into play and be applied in these things. Because these are all the soft skills: influence, coaching and mentoring, conflict management, teamwork. Those are the soft skills that people keep talking about that everybody needs to have in order to function in today's marketplace.
Yeah.
So here we are.
It's always nice, because I think probably a lot of people have experienced that, where you've been around someone that's really artful and masterful with using this. And then I'm sure everyone's been in rooms or situations where people aren't so effective in this.
Yes.
The thing that always screams in my mind when someone's not effective with this is, read the room, people. Read the room.
Yes.
You're totally not in tune with your message or how this is coming across right now. And, here goes. Everyone's going to shut down. You can see it like a storm cloud coming in, that it just is not going to work,
Yeah.
to anyone's benefit.
That is so true. And if you don't have, that comes to the self-awareness before the awareness of everyone else. If you're not aware of the impact you're having, of the wake you leave behind, because we kind of talked about that a while back. If you're not aware of that, you are going to stick your foot in it on a regular basis. But if you are aware of what you're bringing into the room, and then how, from a positive perspective, you can move that into all those other competencies, oh, you're so much further ahead of the game.
Oh, yeah. It's the night and day difference between, I think, getting things done through people and not getting things done. Are you a leader that invests in the relationship enough where people want to follow you? They want to learn more about the shared vision that you have.
Yeah.
And they want to be a part of this? Or are you, someone that's more top down, doesn't read the room?
No room reading. No room reading.
You turn around and no one's behind you, or there's people behind you, but they're not moving. They're like, right? Are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, exactly. What's the point of the people being behind you if they're not moving with you?
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of, they're there.
Exactly.
Like statues.
Yeah. And you talked about that people can develop these skills. That is so very true. None of these skills are impossible to learn. And if you want to learn how to do that, there are ways you can. There are a multitude of ways. Coaching, finding a mentor. Just make sure that your mentor is not a top-down person. Make sure that your person understands emotional intelligence. That's for sure. Not your person. Make sure your mentor understands emotional intelligence, because if they don't, you're kind of going to be going down the wrong road. That would be completely ineffective. So it's really interesting when I think about this to think about how this relates to how we work together, in the fact that I'm more in the visionary space and you're more in the processes and systems place. Well, visionary and marketing and that stuff, because you are just as good from the standpoint of influence, coaching and mentoring, conflict management and teamwork as I am. You're fabulous at those things, but you look at it in the processes and systems side, where I look at it from the standpoint of the leader themselves. So it's that working together thing, which is
it is cool. And especially when you've got someone that is got complementary skills as to what you have. It's great to balance each other out and keep each other grounded on, it could be a really big idea and I'm worried about, well, how are we going to execute this? How much time is this going to take? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking about turning something into, a big marketable, really awesome type event or activity or that. It's just like, okay, well, this is great, but how can we practically get this done? And I think that's what a lot of this emotional intelligence is about, is knowing yourself, being open to learning from others, and sometimes you've got to be a little bit of a chameleon, right? Change your color a little bit, based on maybe how you typically lead or the things that you typically do to help bring people into the fold and bring them along. I always tell people, business owners I work with, there's a time to be directive in terms of this is the direction that we're going.
Mm-hmm. True.
And there's enough talk, right? at this point. This is the decision that's been made and everyone needs to support it. And being open to hearing those perspectives and bringing people into the direction that you want to go and the why, and help them get there kind of in their own way. Doesn't mean that, it's something that you let linger for 6 or 8 months and everyone's kind of not on board as a leader. It's a balancing act. But I think
True.
if your team and people see that you're authentic in the way that you're bringing people in, you're listening, you're making adjustments on the fly, you're bringing the best out of them, generally people can get on board with a direction and follow a leader, even if they don't 100% agree to it. But if they feel like they've been listened to and brought in,
True.
and they've got the buy-in that, I'm not sure this is the best path, but I've got a lot of respect for Rhonda. We've had great discussions on this. She's listened to me. So you know what? I'm going to follow her, through kind of this journey. And I think that's the difference between, in my mind, a manager and a leader.
That's that is a great way to put it. The leaders engage with the people, and it's not like a manager doesn't have a relationship with the people, but the purpose of the relationship seems different in my mind.
Yeah.
The manager, it's about doing things, it's about accomplishing the goal, but it's also the cog in the wheel thought process.
Yeah.
People are interchangeable because it's just another cog in the wheel, as opposed to a leader understands what the person brings to the table. And when we get into the process and we find out that the way we originally thought the process was going to work, well, it was a great idea, but the reality is now, what's hitting the fan, and we have to shift a little bit, then I know how to engage my people in such a way that the shift is possible, and I know what skills are needed to make the shift.
Yep. And that is a huge, I think, thing for any leader or business owners, to be aware of that and know what that looks like and what it means for them, when you have to make that kind of a shift. And I think the other thing is that, there used to be kind of a management philosophy to some degree that you kept, business was business and personal was personal.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think it's a bunch of bullshit.
How do you really feel about it, Jeff?
People are human.
Yeah.
Right? People have things, interests, and activities and families outside of your business. Your business is not their world. It might be your world, but it's not theirs. And spending the time to get to know people on that personal level,
Yeah.
In terms of what did they do the weekend? Are there kids in activities? Do they coach different activities? What things do they like to do? And doing that in an authentic way can make connections that much stronger from an emotional intelligence perspective.
True.
Remembering things like people's birth dates, their work anniversaries, their, that their one of their kids just had a play that they were in this weekend, and those types of facts make, to me, that's part of what goes into being a leader with high EQ and emotional intelligence, is knowing kind of what's going on, where you can do these check-ins. And it's not I'm prying into your life or anything, but it's really about showing an interest in a general interest in people and what they are interested in.
It's knowing them as a whole person, as opposed to only as the person that walks in the door on Monday morning and walks out the door on Friday afternoon. It's knowing who they are, what they're about.
Also known as employee number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? I'm sure we've all worked at companies, where people are seen by their employee number, not by who they actually are.
This is true.
And I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but a lot of that goes into the relationship management, making the difference is, are you treating people more than just a number?
It's interesting that you say that, and it reminds me of a story from a really long time ago, where this was when Borden was struggling, there was a lot of Borden struggling, but toward the end, Borden was struggling, and we had one president, and then another president, and I worked on the top floor of the building. So when I was going to meetings, I was in the elevators a considerable amount of time. And I happened to, I don't even know how, I have no idea where it was going. It really doesn't matter. But I happened to be on the elevator at the same time as the person who was president of the company at that point in time. Now, I was a young kid at that point in time, like 30, 35 years old. And I could have been really intimidated by this man, but he was the kindest person and just really engaged me in conversation. Ask not, about the company and what have you, but who I was as a person. And this is a lot of years later. I still remember that from that elevator ride. That is emotional intelligence right there. I mean,
absolutely.
I can assure you from the standpoint of employee number, I was an employee number, not a person who he remembered what my name was, because I didn't interact with him on a regular basis. But he treated me as a person, and that makes all the difference. And we're getting to the place where we need to wrap up for today, aren't we, Jeff?
We do. It was awesome seeing you again and
Same here.
You join us for a short hiatus and back to season 3. And we'll be back at it again.
Absolutely. We will be back next Monday at 12:15. So Jeff, have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Take care.
You too.